Tom Emmer didn't ease into this one. He came out swinging. In a tense congressional hearing, the House Majority Whip confronted Minnesota Governor Tim Walz head-on, laying out his record, quoting his own tweets, and then dropping the line that set everything on fire. "That's what you tweeted." Emmer demanded Walz apologize after comparing icy agents to Hitler's Gestapo, warning that this kind of reckless rhetoric puts law enforcement lives at risk. This exchange gets heated fast. So grab a seat, settle in, hit like, subscribe to 50 Patriots, and let's dive right into it.
This is the Majority Whip, Mr. Emmer from Minnesota.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome back to Washington, Governor. I'm going to run through a series of facts before I get to my questions, so let's get started. Governor Walz, you signed the Health and Human Services Omnibus Bill into law in May of 2023. That bill expanded Minnesota Care to provide free health care to illegal aliens. You signed the Higher Education Omnibus Bill into law in May of 2023. That bill allows illegals to have their college tuition paid for by the state. You signed the Driver's License for All Act into law in March of 2023, and that bill allows illegals to receive driver's licenses. So, you claim you're not a sanctuary state. You just provide free health care, free college, and driver's licenses to illegal aliens. One reason you're here testifying before us today is because you refuse to cooperate with ICE. While states like Florida and Virginia empower their law enforcement to detain and remove criminal illegal aliens, you, sir, have done just the opposite. Your Attorney General is directing law enforcement to ignore ICE immigration detainers. Do you agree with the Attorney General's guidance?
Well, Congressman, it's good to see you again, and thank you for being here. First, I would say, as my job as governor of Minnesota is to make Minnesota the best state in the nation.
Do you agree with the Attorney General's guidance?
Congressman, what I would say on this is that Minnesota follows all law. I would say
it's a very easy question. And again, if you claim you're not a sanctuary state, you just claim that you support policies. You're not a sanctuary state, but you support policies that prevent ICE from doing their job.
Congressman,
isn't that right?
That is incorrect, Congressman. We follow the same laws when you were in the Minnesota House. The law has not changed,
if you'll allow me, I've got limited time. Well, that's what you tweeted, by the way, sir. And on May 23rd, 2018, you tweeted, quote, "I support policies that keep law enforcement from enforcing federal laws," close quote. On May 17th, just this spring, at the University of Minnesota Law School's commencement ceremony, you said, quote, "Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets." When you said the words modern-day Gestapo, you were referring to ICE agents. Gestapo, by the way, sir, was the official secret police of Hitler's Nazi Germany. So you're calling ICE agents modern-day Nazis. Given the attacks on ICE agents that took place in Los Angeles over the weekend, don't you regard your dangerous inflammatory rhetoric as a problem?
The questions do you want me to answer first?
So, sir, it saddens me that you refuse to express regret from comparing ICE to Nazis. ICE agents are brave Americans who get up every morning, leave their families, and put their lives in harm's way to protect our country, sir. You, at the very least, owe an apology to these dedicated public servants. I will say, sir, inflammatory rhetoric such as yours and the other governors on this panel is responsible for putting a target on the back of every ICE agent who is risking their life to protect our communities. Minnesota is all too familiar, by the way, with the chaos that ensues when you refuse to work with law enforcement to enforce the law. In May 2020, looting, acts of violence, and arson occurred on your watch in Minneapolis after you refused to bring in the National Guard. Governor, your agenda is clear: free health care, free college and driver's licenses for illegals while handcuffing law enforcement when they're trying to protect our citizens and their communities. If you think that's not a sanctuary state, you shouldn't be governor. By turning Minnesota into a magnet for illegals, you have opened up our communities to dangerous criminals, including known terrorists, gang members, murderers, and child predators. You have sent a resounding message that if you're a hardworking, law-abiding citizen of Minnesota, your safety and well-being are not the priorities of Tim Walz and his administration. But if you're coming to our state illegally, you're not only welcome with open arms, you're entitled to free stuff on the taxpayer's dime. This is absolutely disgraceful. Governor Walz, your sanctuary state agenda has been defined by your utter failure. You have failed to enforce the rule of law. You have failed to uphold our national sovereignty. And most importantly, you have failed the people of Minnesota. The time for radical sanctuary state policy, sir, is over. The voters made that clear last November when they elected President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. You remember him, don't you? Governor, the time for real leaders and real leadership is now. And with that, sir, actually, Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to introduce into the record the governor's tweet that I referenced from May 23rd, 2018, which makes it clear his hatred for federal law enforcement. Thank you.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. Yes.
Mr.
Chair
Chairman.
recognizes Mr. Mfume.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I have a unanimous consent request, and I'd like to present both of those to you at the same time.
Proceed.
Okay. I ask unanimous consent that we enter into the record an article from The Hill of
Tom Emmer opens by methodically walking through Tim Walz's record as governor. One bill after another. Free health care for illegal aliens. Free college tuition paid by the state. Driver's licenses for those here illegally. Emmer makes a point crystal clear. Walz can claim Minnesota isn't a sanctuary state all he wants, but his policies say otherwise. Then Emmer goes straight to the core issue, ICE cooperation. While states like Florida and Virginia empower law enforcement to work with federal immigration officials, Walz's administration does the opposite. His attorney general directs police to ignore icy detainers. Emmer asks a simple yes or no question. Does Walz agree with that guidance? Walz dodges. Emmer presses harder. That's when Emmer drops the receipts. He reads Walz's own 2018 tweet, where Walz openly said he supported policies that keep law enforcement from enforcing federal law. Then Emmer pivots to the most explosive moment. Walz's commencement speech, where he referred to IC as Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo. Emmer doesn't mince words. The Gestapo, he reminds everyone, was Hitler's secret police. By using that language, Walz wasn't just criticizing policy, he was smearing IC agents as Nazis. Emmer ties that rhetoric directly to real-world consequences, pointing to recent attacks on IC officers and warning that inflammatory language puts targets on their backs. Walz refuses to express regret, and Emmer unloads. He calls ICE agents brave Americans who leave their families every day to protect the country, and says Walz owes him an apology at the very least. From there, Emmer broadens the indictment. He points to the chaos in Minneapolis in 2020, the refusal to deploy the National Guard, and what happens when leaders handcuff law enforcement instead of backing them. He accuses Walz of turning Minnesota into a magnet for illegal immigration while abandoning law-abiding citizens. The closing is brutal. Emmer says Walz has failed to enforce the rule of law, failed to uphold national sovereignty, and failed the people of Minnesota. He formally enters Walz's tweet into the congressional record, making sure it's permanent and undeniable. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video. Subscribe to 50 Patriots. Share this with friends who follow political hearings, and see you in the next one.